Chase, what would you say is sounding like an old man here? What is the hardest part about coaching today's player that maybe didn't exist when you were a player?
Um, I think all the voices, all
Hmm.
the other voices you're competing with. It's the agent, it's the scout, it's his personal hitting coach, it's his dad, it's his select coach, it's his college coach, it's his teammate. I mean, there's just, and then every social media guru out there that's spouting out whatever, that he's looking at when he looks at his Twitter or Instagram. Like, so you're going up against 1,000 voices and you're trying to be the one that is going to be listened to, which can be difficult, but that's where you develop a relationship. It takes time. Drive-by coaches usually aren't very impactful, and I consider myself a trench hole, like a foxhole coach, where I'm going to be in the trenches, and I'm going to love you up and get to know you as best I can, and try to impart some wisdom and advice, and through that consistent commitment and empathy and kindness and service, like hopefully you get the person's ear. And sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes they're fully committed to Joe Johnson back home and wherever small town they're from. That's part of it. So you just gotta the coaches of our day was like that's all you had. I mean there was the gospel. Like that's what he said this. Like you do that. Like now there's that they have a lot more autonomy and a lot more voices.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to that too because they have a better chance of finding the correct information because there's more sources to pull from. Um, but I think they risk clarity when they do that, and clarity
Mm-hmm.
is king, especially on the hitting side or the pitching side. You can't have that many voices. I like to say that you can only tune into one radio frequency at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're tuning into a whole bunch of frequencies, you just get a bunch of chatter and static, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard to get a clear message. And boy, that's a thing that we would go back in the off season and hit with some other guys. Maybe you called your dad and talked to him about your swing because he saw you hit a bunch throughout your life. But yeah, that's a tough one now, man. That's a good answer. Um, what do you let's see. How do you find yourself holding players accountable or disciplining players today? Do you feel like players need to be disciplined or they need discipline in their life? And then when it comes time to hold a player accountable because it's always going to be there, how do you go about that?
I think providing structure, which allows them to have discipline throughout their day, is the first part of it, and then there's going to be mistakes, and then how you address that. I think it takes a lot of tact and discernment. I mean, there's you can really lose a player by doing it the wrong way, which I feel like is especially at the AAA level. I mean, nobody wants to get met at the top step. Like no one wants to be called, talked about during the game. Like they know they made a mistake. They probably don't need to like hear about it right in the moment when the emotions are high. The next day is just as good. Like everybody's cooled down and had a night's sleep. Now we
I
can get
like
some
the
video. What's
yeah. I
that?
was just gonna say I like the youth coach. After a guy makes a mistake and he's coming back in the dugout, and they're like, "Let's go, man! Catch the ball!" And the kid's
Yeah,
like, "That's right, catch the
yeah,
ball. I thought we were working on drop balls." Like the kid
yeah.
needed to be told he should
Throw
catch the ball
strikes.
in front of his
Oh,
aunt and uncle, grandma. Yeah, throw strikes.
yeah.
Really helpful. Really helpful.
And that's when
Thanks.
I go to my son's games, and I'm just like, why do you think when you watch a major league game, no one's yelling from the dugout? If they're the pinnacle, then why don't we coach like they do? Why is it so different at the youth level, especially with less mature people on the field? Like I don't get the yelling and hollering at the moment. So I'll hold a player accountable the next day. Either I'll send them a Slack message, or I'll go walk up to them and ask them what they thought about a certain play, or if they're not playing the game the right way, then you put your arm around the shoulder. And like you probably taught me this, or we at least agree on it, is the sandwich technique. Where you start with a compliment, you hit them with the thing that you got a problem with, and you end it with a compliment, so they don't feel like they're being attacked. They feel like they're being I love you, but I love you too much to let you keep being pouty after we win a game. Let's practice high fiving with a smile, even when you're 0 for 3. Like and that's how you go about it. You're not just like, the heck's your problem, you selfish, POS. Like, all right, like nobody wins that one. So just being kind and being a friend usually goes a lot further than just being a hole.
Yeah, I think we both found that some of that just takes time too. You got to invest so much time. Some of these coaches and kids are not aligned together through their career very often. So it's like, you get a kid for one season and you never see him again, or you get a kid, especially now at AAA, a kid that's been through three organizations. He comes in, he has no reason to trust you, and you have to fast track earning that trust. And it's such a hard thing to do. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to anything you have to say. And they may, the guys have been in the game for 8, 9 years. They know how to look at you and say, "Yeah, thanks, man, that's great." But their response is disingenuous because they believe that your advice is disingenuous. And players today have been sniffing out the BS earlier than any other generation, and they're really good at it. So I
Mm-hmm.
think authenticity is like, and it's one of the beautiful things about you is like what you see is what you get, right? There's no puppet master scheme to what you're doing. Like, I'm going to say this to line this up, 3 months from now to make myself look good. It's like there's a certain level, 100% of authenticity that you're going to get, and players gravitate towards that. And I think that's why you get some of those phone calls or text messages 5 years later, and guys say, "Hey, thanks, man. I didn't understand why you told it to me this way at the time, but now it's really resonating." And some of that's with when they become a father or they become a husband.
Yeah. Sometimes they can't see the forest from the trees and they got to get away from it to understand it, or they got to mature and live more life. But a thought I had was that, what's as much as, we maybe talk bad about the numbers this day and age, but the numbers can be used in your favor. Like if you're trying to coach someone, you have some objective data and you're showing them like, okay, these are your metrics for your outfield, like jump times, like, and this is the average at this level, this is the major league average, and this is where you are. Like, it's hard for a player to like not listen to that. Like, this is where you are. This is what we need you to be in the big leagues. You're capable of doing this. Do you want to work on it? Like, yes. If you don't, then you're just going to be here with me in AAA. Like, if you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. Like, do you want
Yeah,
to go
that's a
work
great
on
point.
something? And then
That's
they
a
do.
great
And we had a
point.
kid last year that was exactly that. He thought he was a good outfielder. He thought he was, because he was fast. And it's like, well, you're fast and you make good plays, but there's plays you're not making because of the way you're getting off the mark. Do you want to like study this? Do you want to look at it? Here's some video. Here's some numbers. Let's see if we can try this and be better. And then like he tried it, was better, got called up. Like like that's the beautiful thing. I mean, but at first he was like wasn't having it. Now he was the guy that had been in a bunch of organizations and he'd known me for 2 months, and he's like,
Hmm.
but I didn't like give in. I was like, look, this isn't me with my opinion coming at you as like some like savior. Like, this is your numbers, and I think you can be better.
Yeah, boy, that's a great point. That's a definitely a bonus for coaching in today's world with all the data
Yeah,
you can just.
Hawkeye's great. I mean, every movement on the field is monitored, is registered,
Yeah.
and out quantified.
Well, kudos to you for learning how to apply it.
Yeah.
Um, Chase, what if you could impart one thing on today's young coach who is a Matt Hagan and Chase Lambin, who's coming off of a career where they, played longer than they should have, and they're wanting to get into coaching and make an impact, or maybe they just got done with college, or they're coming from, a life working in a batting cage and giving lessons and running, club teams, and here they are now. They're getting into the lower levels of professional baseball or coaching college baseball. Let's say, if you could impart one piece of wisdom on them, what would it be?
I think it's to to listen and learn more than you talk. If you're trying to impress someone with your words or impress someone with how much you know, that's going to be sniffed out. If you genuinely care about someone and you want to get to know them better, that takes time. So don't be in a hurry to be a super coach. Like, being a good coach is a marathon, and it's not something you can do over a weekend, over a week. I mean, it is a months, years type thing that, if you want to do it right, things that are built to last aren't built fast. So, you just got to be the tortoise and not the hare. It seems cliche, but like, that's what a good coach is. He's just a plotter. He's just someone that shows up every day. He locks arms with the player. He doesn't bail when things get hard. He holds firm in the gap. You're in there with the person. You're feeling their pain. You're celebrating their victories. I think that's what players want. A player just wants someone to be there with them, to believe in them, and to see something in them that they can't see in themselves. And that's all you have to do. Just see a big leaguer in every player. See a Division I player in every high school player. Just see that, even if it's a bit delusional. A little delusion's okay. Like, you got to, big, hairy, audacious goals and visions. Like, be that visionary for a player, even if you don't have the perfect content. Like, that would go so far, so much further than a new drill. Just remember that it's not the drills, it's the belief, and it's the consistency, and it's the day in and day out authenticity of just um, being a consistent positive impact on a day in and day out basis, irregardless of the results, irregardless of the actual uh, uh, content or drills or whatever.
Yeah, they used to say it's not about the X's and the O's, it's about the Jims and the Joes.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably more true today than it's ever been, where guys are eager to show just how much they know about the content. And it's so fun. I remember that you'll remember the story. So we're in spring training, right? And we're in the middle of camp, maybe towards the end of camp, and we have a player in camp whose career he's probably gonna get released. So we, as an organization, ask him, if he'd like to start his coaching career. So he's like, yes, that's been on my mind, whatever. So we're up in the conference room upstairs in spring training, and it's day one for this kid. First day as a coach, right? First day as a coach. And he's probably, I'm going to say he's like 26 years old, right? And we're probably both around, 40-ish, you know? So this meeting's getting ready to start, and he's got his notebook open. And I was like, first day, you excited or whatever? And he's like, yeah, excited, I said, yeah, hey, man, I would just encourage you to just take it all in, really listen, just be a sponge, soak it up. And then you come in, you sit down, and you're like, hey, glad to have you, man. Welcome to the dark side. Glad to have you as a coach. Just, and you reiterate the same points. Just really be, ears open, eyes open, fast to quick to listen and slow to speak. Then we get into the meeting and we're going through hitters, and we get to our number one hitting prospect, right? And the guy running the meeting goes, anybody have anything to add? And this kid just goes straight into it. And we look at each other and our mouths both just go, what? I mean, we tried to help the kid, and he just went off. I mean, he went for like 10 minutes on, he was batting ninth in the lineup the day before, where this kid was batting fourth. And now he's going to tell everybody in the room, we need to do this, this, and this with the hitter. And what a great way to just completely shut yourself off from the rest of the coaching staff. And
Yeah.
we got guys in that room that are 55 years old, and they've been coaching for, 30 years. And the poor kid, like, you just wanted to put your arm around and be like, hey, man, that's kind of the opposite of what we said. But I don't know, maybe we were doing it wrong and he was doing it right. And a good kid, right? Like a good
Yeah.
kid. But boy, just, your advice there about being a listener first. I would just echo that. Do you remember that?
100%. And that, I see it all the time now, to where that's old hat. I mean, that's a daily thing that I see, where there's a level of entitlement and grandioseness to a lot of the coaches these days that are, born on third and thought they hit a triple. It's just like you're amazingly confident. Like, how do you get that level of confidence without having experience? I don't know. Maybe I'm light on confidence. I don't know, but it's amazing to see someone that just comes in guns blazing, that thinks that they just know better and know more than everybody in the room. And that usually doesn't last long. Those are the guys that, they talk their way out of the trust of the players, and they
Mm.
become they're good at maybe making a PowerPoint or putting out something on social media. But when you're in the trenches with guys want someone that's going to be listening. You got two ears and one mouth. You don't need to just hear yourself talk. And you said it earlier about, you miss being a mentor and being a mentee, and so I like to combine those two words, and I'd like to consider myself a mentern. Like, I'm mentoring, but I'm also an intern in a lot of ways. There's a lot of coaches that I'm learning from on a daily basis that have done a lot more than me that I can learn from. but there's a lot of people looking up to me as a leader and as a mentor. So you kind of go to work each day with that mentality that you're looking to learn, but you're also looking to impart wisdom.
Yeah. Well, I like to close these things out and say I hope somebody can take away one thing from our time, but I know that there's way more than one thing to take away. And yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing this, man. I mean, I think you're doing what you were created to do, no doubt about it. And you're having a huge impact. So stay the course, keep doing what you're doing, keep being the husband and the father that you are, and keep cranking out young men. Turning these guys from boys to men, and just proud of you and the path that you're on and the things that you're doing. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to the next time we get together.